Hello and welcome back to the Mindtrack.net game server. This is just a video for a personal build that I've been working on. Im Heller was gracious enough to import this model for me right here. This is the Rosa Dante from the Expanse. Currently it's a sci-fi show that you can watch on Amazon Prime. It's got 4 seasons. It is really high quality, well acted, excellent special effects, good story. It's based off of the Expanse books, and the Expanse books are pretty big books. They're pretty in-depth books, and they go into a lot about the science of space travel and the mechanics and stuff. And so the Rosa Dante is a major player in the storyline. It's currently probably one of the few ships that I really look forward to getting to see on screen. So yeah. Anyways, this is what the Rosa Dante looks like. You know, sorta, kinda, all decked out. It the ship itself was originally part of the Martian military, and it was a lifeboat sort of a situation, and it basically the people that have it now, because I don't want to spoil the show for you, acquired it through the needs of saving their own ass, and it became their home and their ship. So yeah, it's a gorgeous looking model. Im did a really nice job on getting it imported. It's kind of hard because these PDCs are a little bit bigger than but Minecraft. What can you do with Minecraft? But these are point defense cannons. The Rosa Dante, this version of the Rosa Dante just has the PDC cannons and a couple of torpedo launchers. These things right here. Later on, the Rosa Dante gets fitted with a railgun. Yeah, that's fun. That's some fun stuff right there. But the way that this ship works is there is no artificial gravity in the Expanse universe. Everything works under thrust gravity. So if you need gravity, you put on hit the afterburner and you've got gravity. And so all the ships are basically rockets, very powerful rockets. They are equipped with these things called Epstein Drives, which allows interplanetary travel throughout the solar system within weeks to months as opposed to years or decades. So in the Expanse universe, man has explored Mars. Mars has declared its independence. They had a little war, and so there are three major powers in the Expanse universe: Earth, Mars, and the Belt. And you count the fourth, there's like a terrorist group called OPA also, but they're part of the Belt. And so you have these four factions playing for power, and there's agitators among all of them that are up to some pretty nefarious things. And you got to watch the series, or I recommend the series because it does a really good synopsis of the books. But if you're really into and really want to read the books or get them on Audible, because Audible has the books. As you know, Audible's awesome. I love Audible. Anyways, but yeah, come inside of here and kind of get a look around the ship a little bit. Here's the reactor and engineering, and then this would be cargo storage, and then probably medical, crew quarters, combat, command center, and then flight control right up here. So it's not a big ship, but in the scale of things, it has quite a bit of crew initially for what it's tasked for under the Martian military. This ship, I think, has a crew of 24, and there are two of them that can be housed inside of a much larger ship called the Donnager class. And this is I'm not sure what the class is for the Rosa Dante, but the Rosa Dante is renamed from another ship, and the Tashi. So originally it was called the Tashi, and then after the ship was acquired by its new crew, they renamed it the Rosa Dante. And they explain why they did that, and they did it really well in the show, and they did a pretty nice job of it in the books as well. But I built this, and then I realized that it really wasn't to the scale that I wanted it. So I started working on this project, and I have to thank QC. She came on and she helped me get the circumference for the booster engine here, and I really appreciate her help on getting it set up. So hats off to QC for her help on this. And anyways, but I went through and I just built this thing from the ground up last night, and I did it, and then the folks on the Discord channel were like, "Yeah, you got the color wrong. It's supposed to be orange." Okay, I like orange, so I went with orange, and then well, why orange? I went with white. And then one person said, "Yeah, you have too much color. You need to make it darker." So I went with that version. And then of course I can go white, red, and black on that one as well, or white and red on that one as well. But I called it after that one because they're all the same model, built from the ground up by me, by moi. Uh, and it's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. Anybody could build these. They're not that difficult to build. Basically, it's just a rocket, and then you just add little greebles on the sides of it, add some PDCs. These are point defense cannons. They're basically the heart and soul of the ship when it comes to defense and offense. Then it has 4 torpedo launchers, and it's an internal torpedo base, so each torpedo launcher has its own bay, and it can load more torpedoes than they can fire. And this one also has missile launchers. So, and it has its own little missile bay. It has 2 missile launchers, so it can launch missiles or probes, things like that. And it is also equipped with a railgun. Very high-powered thing. Shoots little slugs out there about the size of a beer can, and of course, 1 meter hole, so the beer can's about a meter round tungsten slug, and can do some pretty darn good damage. This right here is actually intercoolers for cooling the railgun. And there are 2 points of entry. There's the upper airlock, and then there's the lower airlock. And we'll go through the lower. First, we'll go down here and we'll take a look under the hood, so to speak. So this is the thrust nozzle, and it's an Epstein Drive. So basically, it has an inner thrust nozzle. And if we go underneath there, let me go ahead and do that here real quick. You can see that's the Epstein Drive. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle for the Epstein Drive to work. In fact, in some cases they're oblong, or they have 2 oblongs, or 2 circles, or 4 circles, just depending on which ship is used. But it's a reactor, and then the reactor is actually above us, and it's pretty cool. In the show, they explain how it works. They kind of go into detail in the books, and they do go into some detail in the show as well, because there's one episode in the 4th season where the reactor won't work, and it turns out that it's because some alien flipped the switch and turned physics that govern our universe off, and so reactors weren't working. All you had was battery power and whatever else you could think of to move your ship around. And in a universe where their inertia matters, railguns are handy. Anyways, so this is the main cargo bay. It's a 2-level with a catwalk around it, and atypically there'd be like a crane right here to move heavy stuff, but since you're mostly in 0G, you don't really need it. Right here is where you would load the fuel for the reactor, and it has a fuel storage unit below us, basically pellets, about the size of an adult fist. And these right here are access points to the PDCs, so you can reload the PDCs and service them. You can store some of their munitions in here. There's an upper and lower access point for the PDCs. We'll go ahead and go down first, and then we'll work our way back up. This right here is an engineering area. It's mainly, you have some batteries because you have in here, you have the H2 processors, the H2O processor, you have life support and waste management and all that stuff, reclamation's all on this deck. I haven't added the machinery in yet. Eventually I will if I get that far. But yeah, you have to have batteries for backing that up, so this is going to be a very compact, or very tightly filled in area. Right now there's a lot of room to move around, but eventually it will all be filled in with machinery and things like that. There is bulk H2O storage. It's actually above us. There are 4 big tanks for bulk H2O because, you got to have water. And the reactor doesn't need to be cooled. It's not that kind of a reactor. It's in space. So, it's cooled by the fact that space is a vacuum. So, yeah. Anyways, this is main engineering. And you have like a parts storage over here, you have a maintenance shop over here, a machinist shop, you have tanks for raw materials, so you can actually fabricate what parts you need. If you need, like, say, chemicals for, I don't know, making gunpowder. You can fabricate the chemicals. If you need lead, you can, take raw material and make lead. Copper, you can make your own bullets if you have to. This is a work area. This is for fabrication. And if we go through this hatch and come down, it's a very cramped area, but this is the top of the reactor. And all around the reactor will be batteries. I just haven't put them in yet because, yeah, you got to have batteries. And then if you drop down into the reactor prime itself, here's the reactor right here, and then you come down even further to go over the top of the Epstein Drive. So, kind of cool. And then, of course, you can go all the way back up and out into the cargo bay. In this case, we'll go ahead and work our way up. Again, you have upper access to the PDCs, so if you want to, you can service them from 2 different angles. And if we come up here, this is one of the first of the crew decks, and this is also where the bulk H2O is stored, is in the corners of these areas, but I was able to fit in. And this is not a starship, mind you. This is a military vessel, so it's going to be cramped quarters. For each room, there are 2 people to room, with the exception of the first officer and the captain. They each have quarters to themselves. So, yeah. So you get the crew of the ship by, stacking people 2 to a room. Or hot bunking, basically. They're hot swapping. So you can literally, if you have to, you can have 4 people per room, because 2 would be on duty at all times, and the other 2 would be sleeping. But yeah, you basically crew quarters through here, and then we come back up in here, and we have the first of the 2 torpedo rooms. These are the torpedoes. They stand elongated, and they load into the torpedo launcher, and they have lifts that lift them up into the firing, basically into the breach and so forth. And you can store quite a few torpedoes in here. Of course, they would all be secure, so, in case the ship had to make a high G turn, these things wouldn't fly all over the place. They would be secure, but just for looks, I have them in here right now. They'd be magnetically grappled to things so they wouldn't fly around. And over here you have the PDC access and ammo storage. There's another PDC cannon right here. And you have all this is ammo for the PDC, so quite a bit of ammo. Plus, in the cargo bay below, there would be even more. Basically, anywhere there's a PDC, there would probably be stores. Here's the other torpedo room, and that's the other PDC cannon. So this is mainly a weapons deck. If we come up here, then we're back into another crew area with access to another PDC. The upper part of this PDC right here, so they can service it if they have to. And you have a few more crew quarters. These ones here are about the same size as the ones down below, maybe a little bit longer. But yeah, they all work pretty well. And if we go up one more deck here, we are into the medical deck. And this is pre-op and recovery, or recovery and pre-op, whatever you want to call it. OR, the doctor's office, and doctor's space pooper. Again, storage for medical supplies. Come around this way right here, and this is the color palette I went with. I know it may not look the greatest, but yeah, it works. This is main sick bay, where you would come to be treated for normal injuries. A lot of storage and stuff in here, and then again another space pooper. Another space pooper, and this is the crew mess, where the crew would come to eat. There would be tables, basically like picnic style tables. Probably one here, then another one right here. And then there's the galley with cold storage, and again the cargo bay would actually have another storage locker, a portable cold storage locker, which would have all sorts of stored foods and stuff in it. And then we come up here and we are in the missile controls area. This is where the missiles are stored and loaded. As you can see, they can be loaded and fired. I don't have a missile, so. And this would here would be, I think, the first officers. No, this is the captain's quarters. Nice big bathroom, nice big room for the captain. Now I could cut this down and make it so that it's another crew quarters entirely, but this is the captain's mess. And another area here for the first officer. And then you come up here and you have like a little workout area. It'll be like a couple of treadmills in here and maybe some weights and stuff like that. And then you have an airlock. This is the upper airlock. This is where most of the spacesuits and stuff would be stored, because in the event that this ship goes into combat, everybody would have to be in a vacuum suit, because they will bleed the air off into the tanks, so that if the ship gets hauled, you're not having rogue vector thrust from atmosphere bleeding off. You have holding here You have the main airlock. You have another holding, and then some more spacesuits and stuff, and plus weapons. Yeah, this is what I have. This is what I have to use. But Martians have machine guns and you know pistols. They don't have phasers. And we'll go ahead and go up here, and we're into the first of the three of the command decks. This is the Electronic Warfare Department. These are where, and the railgun access. This is where the railgun can be serviced and or loaded, but it's an auto-loading system, so it's the stores for it are in there. Basically, this stuff right here, and you can swap these out right here if you have to, but you can also go in there and do it, or maintenance in there and do it. But this is where the railguns and most of the ship's warfare department it will be handled. Electronic warfare stuff assets would be handled, like jamming, communications, interference, trying to hack the missiles being fired at it, or alter the hack the torpedoes that have been fired at the ship and whatnot. Then you come up here, and this is the command deck. This is where most of the ship operations are handled day to day, and like engineering and weapon systems and things like that. And then we come up to the flight deck, and this is where the two pilots would sit. And now the seats can actually pivot up, and they could look out this, or they can stay seated like this, because whether they're on their ass or they're on their back, the thrust is from this direction. So pushing against your back, you would be basically like that. So, and then more command stations for additional control. But yeah, that's pretty much the ship. I'm pretty proud of it. I mean, it's not the greatest, but for a hand-built ship of her kind, I'm pretty happy with her. And the neat thing is they're really easy to build, so anybody can build one, and you'd be amazed what you can come up with once you get into it and you understand the mechanics of how it works. Basically, you just start with a rocket, and then you just start adding greebles to it. Adding containers or odd shapes for habitat and whatnot. You could even, if you wanted to, have a spinning section on one of these vessels. Well, I don't know why you would, but it's possible. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of them. Anyways, I do appreciate you taking time to watch. Again, this is the Mindtrek.net game server. Have a great day.